I want to let a couple of things out of my mind and out of my chest.
Hakuna msee atakusaidia, ukijisaidia atakukazia, isi mshuto, mimi nasafisha hewa, ongeza speaker.
At some point in my life, I was a promoter, an active promoter who booked artists every single week at different venues across the city. When I started putting out my own music and even performing my own music in front of an audience, I felt like I had shortchanged artists when I was a promoter, because I finally understood what it takes to be an artist, what it means to give yourself. I've been able to see both from the promoter side, which is really tied into sales and the venue and what their perspective is and how they're just thinking about numbers. And I've now been able to see the artist side and what they actually go through to be able to make the jams, you know? When I was booking artists, you know, like at the entry level, you know, you do maybe like a 30K gig or a 40K gig, you know, you give a band to come do an hour or two. So basically, unapatia msanii a 30K, akuja afanye show yake. At that time, I felt like it was fair, you know? Like when I was booking artists, I felt like it was fair, you know? Like I'm like, okay, cool. You're starting out, nobody really knows you. You know, you're getting paid to actually build your audience, which in truth, even right now, it really is fair. It's just maybe we've never gotten to a place where the artists understand the promoter's perspective and the promoters understand the artist's perspective. And this is what I mean. So I've given you perspective of a promoter and why it makes sense for them to be like, okay, yeah, cool. They'll probably make a lot of sales at that space. You know, imagine they're selling alcohol at, I don't know, a bottle of beer or a glass of beer at maybe 300 or 400 bob. And you know, they only need, if it's 300 bob and they're paying you 30K, they only need to sell about 100 bottles. And then as well, it's not that they just want to break even. You have to look at the overheads because they need staffing, they need to pay for rent, they need to pay for licenses, you know, they have the NEMAs and all those things. So there's a lot of things to consider as well from their perspective, in truth. Now from the artist perspective, I have to pay for rehearsal space. The cheapest rehearsal space I can get is probably 500 bob per hour. If I'm doing an hour or 2 hour set, that roughly means if a song is about maybe 5 minutes, I need about 12 to 15 songs. I can't be able to prepare a band with 1 hour of rehearsals, right? Or even 2 hours of rehearsals. So I need to either do a bulk booking in one day, or do small chunks in different days, right? For the sake of this conversation, let's say I need 2 hour rehearsals and I need 4 of them. That's a total of 8 hours. That's different days, yeah? Another thing I need to consider is I'm not going by myself, right? I have 2 band members, for example. I play bass and fill up with guitars and do half live. So I have a drummer, MJ, an amazing drummer. I have Gavi, an amazing keyboard player. They actually play for all the top artists in Kenya. If you don't know them, check them out. So I have them playing with me, right? So if we do the math of just the rehearsal space, that's 8 hours at 500 bob. That's already 4,000 bob gone. Then I need to consider transport to the venue and transport back. Most of the times it might be cumbersome for me to use public transport. So it means I probably have to get a cab or Anduthi even, depending on what gear I have, right? From where I stay, maybe 300 bob, one way. So if it's two-way, that's 600 bob. Just for me, for the 4 days, 600 times 4, that's 2,400. That's just my costs. If I'm going to consider the band guys, that's 2,400 times 3. I need to consider the gig day, right? So I have to pay MJ and I have to pay Gavi. I probably have to consider how I'm going to look like, right? A bunch of these venues actually provide meals, but they provide just a meal and a drink, right? But I'm actually there from way before, you know, for sound check and all of that. So meal and drink may not necessarily suffice for a couple of hours, right? Let's see the value that I bring to the venue, right? We'll get the poster, so we'll promote the venue, not just the gig. We'll promote the venue way before our performance date, right? We'll be like, okay, cool, we're playing on, say for example, at Gecko, you know, that means we're already talking about Gecko before. That's something we're doing for the venue before the day we perform, right? And we'll keep doing that. We'll do that a couple of times because in truth, we want it to get packed, because if it doesn't get packed, I probably won't get booked again, right? Gig day comes, we'll perform, most times well above the time that's been indicated. If you've been booked for 2 hours, best believe we'll add another half an hour just because, we're deep in the vibe, If, say, for example, I've attracted a crowd of, let me be modest, because again, I said I'm a starting artist. I've attracted a crowd of just 50 people. And because of the vibe of the 50 people, the other 100 people or 200 people that Gecko has as loyal customers are now retained more because they're like, okay, cool, the vibe today is really cool. Before the performance or after the performance, they'll stay on and they'll probably make a lot of sales, right? But I don't want to sound like, we're giving a lot of value. We need to understand that we're giving a lot of value, so add money. It's just we need to see both perspectives so that you can be able to find a better solution, a working solution for both parties, right? And that's the bottom line. That's better for both parties. Of course, I'm doing it for the love. I'm not doing it for the money. But let's also just be realistic. Like, I'd love to be able to live off of the art, because in truth, man, like, we're growing. We're growing, If we have a lot more conversations such as this, I hope I'm able to, in the next, say, for example, recording, I have somebody from the bar industry and somebody from the artist industry, and we can actually be able to talk not just the art, but the economics of the art, the economics of the bar, and seeing how, it's all tied in collectively so that it makes sense for both parties, because in truth, we really need each other. Tell me a bar that doesn't have music. Please, tell me an artist who's playing at a place where they're not selling whatever drink, even if it's not alcoholic. We have an ecosystem, and we have to sort of like get to a place where we speak as stakeholders in the ecosystem for us to be able to find a middle ground, for us to be able to find a sustainable long-term solution on how we can be able to accelerate. Because in truth, man, the 30K I was talking about is from 5 years ago, That's the 30K I'm talking about is now still, like, cost of living is going up, is going high. The actual retail prices are also going up. And in truth, to be fair to the bar owners as well, taxes are going up as well, So if we're not in a place where we can be able to innovate and continue innovating together, we'll stay stagnant.
Hakuna msee atakusaidia, ukijisaidia atakukazia. Isi mshuto, mimi nasafisha hewa, ongeza speaker, mimi nachachisha hewa. Usini point kwa uko na swali jiulize, avoid shoda yako ikukimbize, na kama umetoka basi jirudishe.